15-year-old girls are counting down to midnight with their families. I was sitting on a cold metal bench in Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, shivering, starving, and completely alone. My stomach had stopped growling hours ago. Now it just ached, a hollow emptiness that matched the one in my chest. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Families rushed past with rolling luggage and excited chatter. Children clutched stuffed animals. Couples held hands. No one looked at me. No one saw the girl curled up in the corner near gate B12 trying to disappear into the wall. Then a shadow fell across my feet. I looked up to find an older man standing a few feet away. Maybe 60. Gray beard streaked with white. A worn olive jacket that had seen better decades. Boots with holes near the toes. He held out a water bottle, half full, and a sandwich wrapped in crumpled paper. His voice was calm, steady, like he had all the time in the world. "Sit here," he said. "I will handle it." 4 hours later, a man in a $3,000 suit walked toward me. The airline chairman. And he said my name like he had been searching for it his whole life. Before I tell you how I ended up abandoned at 16 with nothing but the clothes on my back, I need you to understand one thing. The people who left me there were my own mother and stepfather. Drop a comment and let me know where you are watching from. I need to know this story is reaching people who understand what it means to be thrown away by the ones who were supposed to protect you. 2 hours before Marcus found me, I was walking back from the bathroom with my small backpack over my shoulder. The gate area for Flight 447 to Los Angeles was nearly empty. A cleaning crew pushed a cart past me. A single businessman typed on his laptop near the window. The departure screen above the desk flashed words that stopped my heart. Flight 447, departed. I ran to the counter. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. The gate agent looked up with the practiced patience of someone who had delivered bad news 1,000 times. "My family," I said, and my voice cracked on the word. "They were just here. Linda and Robert Ashford. They had my boarding pass." She checked her computer, frowned, typed something. "Mom, they boarded 20 minutes ago. They told us you changed your mind, said you wanted to take a later flight." "I never said that. I was in the bathroom. They told me to wait." She shrugged, the kind of shrug that said this was not her problem. "I am sorry, the flight has departed." My hands shook as I searched my backpack. The side pocket where I kept my phone was empty. The front zipper where I kept my wallet also empty. I dumped everything onto a seat. Spare shirt, underwear, my journal, a toothbrush. Nothing else. No money, no identification, no phone. Everything of value was gone. I thought back. The phone was in my pocket on the flight to Atlanta. I had used the bathroom on the plane and left my backpack in my seat. My mother had walked back from first class to check on me during the flight. "Just making sure you are comfortable, sweetheart," she had said. That was when she took it. While I was gone for 3 minutes, my own mother. The realization crashed into me like a wave. They planned this. They made me go to the bathroom. They took my things. They left me here. They left me at an airport like I was luggage they did not want to carry. I found the customer service desk. The line stretched back with frustrated travelers, delayed flights, lost bags, missed connections. I waited 20 minutes, rehearsing what to say, hoping someone would help. When I reached the counter, the words tumbled out faster than I could control them. "I am 16. My parents left me here. They took my phone and money. I do not know what to do." The agent looked at me with tired eyes. "Do you have identification?" "No, they took everything." "Do you have a number we can call?" I gave her my mother's cell phone. She dialed, waited. Her frown deepened. "This number is not in service. That is impossible. That is my mother's phone." "I am sorry, honey. It does not work." She exchanged a look with her colleague. I recognized that look. I had seen it my whole life. The problem child look, the attention seeker look. "Are you sure your parents left you?" she asked. Maybe there was a miscommunication. There was no miscommunication. They told the gate agent I changed my mind. I did not change my mind. The supervisor arrived. He asked me to repeat my story. I did, my voice steadier now, anger replacing panic. He listened, took notes, made a phone call. When he hung up, his expression had hardened. "I contacted the flight," he said. "The passengers in seats 2A and 2B, Linda and Robert Ashford, confirmed that you chose to stay behind. They said you wanted to visit a friend in Atlanta." My stomach dropped. "That is a lie. I do not know anyone in Atlanta." His voice was flat. "They also mentioned you have a history of emotional difficulties." 2 airport security officers approached before I could respond. "Claire Mitchell?" the woman asked. "Yes." "Come with us, please." They took me to a small room off the main terminal. Fluorescent lights, plastic chairs, a one-way mirror. They asked questions like, I was a suspect, not a victim. "Why are you traveling alone? Did you run away from home? Are you trying to cause trouble for your parents?" I told the truth. I could see they did not believe me. The male officer checked his tablet and something shifted in his expression. "You are flagged in our system, Claire. What does that mean?" He did not answer directly. "Your stepfather filed a report with TSA 3 days ago. Said you might try to travel alone. Said you have a history of running away and making false accusations." My blood ran cold. Robert had planned this before we even left Connecticut. He set me up so no one would believe me. They released me an hour later. "No grounds to hold me," they said. But they also could not help me. "We are not social services." The traveler's aid desk was closed, would not open until 8 in the morning. The clock on the wall read 7:47 in the evening. I found a corner near gate B12, away from the crowds, partially hidden by a pillar. I slid down the wall and sat on the cold floor. Around me the sounds of a functioning world continued without pause, families reuniting, couples kissing hello, children running to grandparents. Everyone belonged to someone. Everyone except me. I had not cried since I was 12. I learned that tears only made things worse with my mother. But alone on the floor of that airport, I could not stop them. Silent sobs shook my body. I cried for the mother who chose money over her daughter. I cried for the father I lost, or thought I lost, 8 years ago when my mother told me his plane crashed over the ocean. I cried for 16 years of trying to be good enough, trying to earn love that was never real. Through the tears, a memory surfaced. My father's voice reading, "Good night, moon. Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere." I used to believe he was watching over me. Now I wondered if he had ever existed at all, or if that too was just another lie. I do not know how long I sat there. 30 minutes. An hour. The terminal grew quieter as evening flights departed. My tears dried, leaving salt tracks on my cheeks. I stared at the floor, too exhausted to think. Then the shadow fell across me. I flinched, expecting security again. Instead, the older man with the gray beard crouched a few feet away. He did not crowd me, did not threaten, just studied me with eyes that were sharp and clear and unexpectedly kind. "You have been sitting here for 2 hours, he said. "I have been watching. Please leave me alone. Whoever left you here, they are not coming back. You know that, do you not?" I could not argue. I had no strength left. He reached into his battered backpack and pulled out the water bottle and the sandwich. "Eat first, then we talk." Every warning I had ever heard about strangers screamed in my head. But I was starving. I was alone. I had no other options. I took the water, drank slowly, took the sandwich. Peanut butter on white bread slightly squished. It tasted like survival. He settled a few feet away, giving me space. "My name is Marcus. I used to work here. Long time ago." "Why are you helping me?" He looked at me with an expression I could not name. Something broken but still burning behind his eyes. "Because you remind me of someone I failed to help once. And I made a promise I would never let that happen again." I noticed a leather bracelet on his wrist, worn, cracked with age. 2 initials were carved into the leather. E.M. The same initials as my father. Ethan Mitchell. Before I could ask about it, Marcus stood and offered his hand. I know people here, people who owe me, people who can access systems the regular staff cannot touch. Why would you do this for me? Because I know what it is like to be thrown away. And because I think someone important is looking for you." He walked toward a staff-only door, knocked a pattern, and was led inside. I waited alone, heart pounding. 20 minutes later, the door opened. A woman in an airline uniform stepped out. Her face was pale, her hands trembled. She looked at me and spoke 2 words that changed everything. "Are you Claire Mitchell?" I nodded. Her voice shook. "Someone very high up wants to see you. They are sending a car." I did not know it then, but the next 4 hours would change everything I believed about my family, my father, and the mother who tried to erase me from existence. To understand why my mother abandoned me at an airport, you need to understand the family I grew up in, or rather, the family I was never really part of. I sat in that terminal waiting for whoever was coming, my mind drifting back through years of memories I had tried so hard to bury. Marcus had disappeared behind the staff door. The airline woman watched me with nervous eyes, refusing to answer my questions about who she had called. If I was going to make sense of what was happening, I needed to go back to the beginning. My earliest memories are warm. A house in Virginia, small but filled with light. My father, Ethan Mitchell, tall and kind with eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He always smelled like coffee and something else. Pine, maybe, or airplane fuel. He worked long hours building his company, but he always made time for bedtime stories. Every single night without fail, we read Goodnight Moon together. I would curl up against his chest and listen to his deep, steady voice. Goodnight stars, goodnight air, goodnight noises everywhere. That voice meant safety. That voice meant home. My mother was different then, softer. She laughed easily and made pancakes on Sunday mornings and sang me to sleep when I had nightmares. I remember her brushing my hair before school, gentle strokes that made me feel loved. That mother existed. I have to believe she did, because otherwise, I spent my whole childhood loving a ghost. I was 8 years old when everything changed. My mother sat me down in the living room one afternoon. Her face was strange, pulled tight in a way I had never seen before. "There has been an accident, sweetheart," she said. "Daddy's plane went down." I remember the words, but not the feeling. It was like my brain refused to process what she was telling me. I kept waiting for her to smile and say she was joking. She never did. There was no funeral. My mother said the crash happened over the ocean, no body recovered, nothing to bury. "We have to be strong now," she told me. "It is just you and me." Within months, my mother changed. The softness disappeared. The laughter stopped. She hugged me less, talked to me less, looked at me less. I thought it was grief. I thought she was mourning my father the same way I was. I did not know it was the beginning of something else entirely. Years later, I realized she had thrown away every photograph of my father. Not one picture remained in our house. When I asked her about it, her answer was quick and rehearsed. I threw them away. It was too painful to look at him. But I saw something flicker in her eyes when she said it. Not pain. Relief. 2 years after my father died, my mother introduced me to Robert Ashford. He was handsome in a cold way, with expensive suits and a smile that never reached his eyes. "A financial consultant," she said. "Very successful." I was 10 years old and immediately uncomfortable around him. He looked at me the way adults look at furniture they plan to replace. They married 6 months later. Small ceremony, destination wedding in the Caribbean. I was the flower girl. That was the last time I felt included in my mother's life. At the reception, Robert put his hand on my shoulder. It felt possessive, not protective. "Do not worry, Claire," he said. "I will take good care of your mother." He did not say he would take care of me. After the wedding, we moved to a new house in Greenwich, Connecticut. Massive. 6 bedrooms. A pool I was rarely allowed to use. My room was at the end of a long hallway, far from the master bedroom. "For privacy," my mother said. I understood it differently, out of sight, out of mind. Robert established new rules. Dinner at 6 sharp, homework reviewed and graded, Curfew strictly enforced, but the rules only applied to me. My mother started deferring to Robert on everything, including decisions about her own daughter. Ask Robert became her answer to every question. Robert never raised his voice, never hit me, never threatened me directly, but I learned to read the silences. When Robert went quiet at dinner, something bad always followed. A canceled trip. A confiscated phone. An accusation I could not defend against. The quieter he became, the more dangerous he was. By the time I was 12, I understood my place. I was tolerated, not wanted. Family dinners happened where my mother and Robert discussed vacations I was not invited to, birthday parties with Robert's business associates where I was sent to my room. "Claire has homework," my mother would say. "Claire is not feeling well. Claire prefers to be alone." Lies told so often they became the official story. Robert started calling me difficult. He said it to teachers, to family friends, to my mother. She has been struggling since her father passed. Very emotional, prone to outbursts. I was none of these things, but when an adult repeats something enough, people believe it. Teachers looked at me with pity. Classmates kept their distance. I learned to stop defending myself because no one listened anyway. By 14, I had no close friends. Not because I was unlikable, but because Robert controlled my schedule. No sleepovers because they were too disruptive. No after-school activities because they were a waste of money. No phone calls because they were distracting. "Focus on your studies, Claire," Robert would say. "That is what your father would have wanted." He always invoked my dead father when he wanted me to obey. It worked every time. At 15, I asked to see a therapist. Robert agreed immediately. "Excellent idea," he said. The therapist turned out to be Robert's friend from the country club. After 3 sessions, she told my mother that I had attachment issues, that I was creating problems for attention. I never went back. One night around that time, I walked past Robert's study and heard him on the phone. His voice was sharp, impatient. "She is almost 18. We need to move faster." Silence. Then, "The trust fund transfers when she is of age, if we do not act before then." The door opened suddenly. Robert saw me in the hallway. He smiled, but his eyes did not. "Eavesdropping is rude, Claire. Go to bed." I was 16 when I found the box, hidden in the basement behind old Christmas decorations. Inside were documents, legal papers with my father's name on every page. Mitchell Family Trust, established for Claire Elizabeth Mitchell. The value listed made my hands shake. $12 million. Beneficiary, me, upon reaching age 18. Trustee, Linda Mitchell Ashford, my mother. My father had left me everything, $12 million waiting for me. And my mother had never mentioned it. Not once in 8 years. I brought the papers upstairs and confronted her. Her face went white, then red, then carefully controlled. "Where did you find those?" she demanded. "In the basement. Dad left me money." "Why did you not tell me?" She snatched the documents from my hands. "Because you are a child. You would not understand." "I am 16. I can understand money." Her voice turned cold. "These are adult matters, Claire. Robert and I are managing the trust for your benefit." "Then why did I not know it existed?" "Because you do not need to. Not yet." The documents disappeared after that. I searched the house 3 times. Nothing. When I asked again, my mother looked at me like I was crazy. "I do not know what you're talking about." Robert smiled at dinner that night. "Claire has such a vivid imagination," he said. 3 days later, I noticed something else missing. The small box of my father's belongings that I had kept hidden in my closet for 8 years. His old watch, his faded wallet, the photographs I had managed to save. All of it gone. It was like Ethan Mitchell had never existed at all. 1 week before the airport, my mother announced a family vacation. Los Angeles. Just the 3 of us. I wanted to believe it was real. I wanted to believe she still loved me somewhere underneath all the coldness. The night before we left, I heard her laughing downstairs with Robert. A real laugh, the kind I had not heard in years. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. "By this time next week it will all be done," Robert said. Finally, my mother replied. I have waited long enough. I went back to my room and told myself it meant nothing. I wanted so badly for it to mean nothing. The staff door swung open, pulling me back to the present. Marcus stepped out, followed by a woman I did not recognize. She was not airline staff. She wore a blazer and carried a leather briefcase. Her eyes found me immediately, sharp and searching. Claire Mitchell? Yes. She did not smile. My name is Denise Carter. I need to ask you some questions about your father. My heart stopped. My father is dead. Denise's expression did not change. That is what we need to talk about. Denise Carter stood before me with her briefcase and her sharp eyes, asking questions about my father. But before I could answer, before I could process what she meant, she held up her hand. First, I need you to tell me exactly what happened. Start from the beginning of the trip. Every detail matters. I took a breath and went back to 3 days ago. The trip that was supposed to bring my family together. The trip that turned out to be a trap designed with surgical precision. It was a Tuesday morning. I came downstairs to find my mother and Robert already at the breakfast table. This was unusual. Robert always left for work by 6. My mother rarely woke before 9. But that morning there was fresh coffee, eggs, orange juice, a real breakfast. My mother smiled at me, and it was not her tight, practiced smile. Something warmer. Sit down, Claire, she said. We have wonderful news. Robert set down his phone, which was also unusual because he never stopped checking it. We have been talking, Claire, about family, about how distant we have all become. I said nothing. I had learned that silence was safer. My mother reached across the table and touched my hand. We are taking a trip, Los Angeles, just the 3 of us. I could barely believe what I was hearing. All of us, a real family vacation. Robert smiled. I have already booked the flights. We leave Saturday. And the hotel? The Beverly Hills Hotel, 5 stars. You will have your own room. Something loosened in my chest. Maybe things were finally changing. Maybe my mother still loved me somewhere underneath all the coldness. Maybe this was her way of trying again. As I stood to clear my plate, I caught my mother and Robert exchanging a glance. Quick, loaded, meaningful. Robert gave an almost imperceptible nod. My mother's smile tightened for just a moment before returning to warmth. I told myself it was nothing. I wanted so badly for it to be nothing. The days before the trip passed in a blur of cautious hope. On Wednesday, I floated through school imagining beaches and palm trees and meals where my mother actually looked at me when I spoke. At home that evening, I found her packing in the master bedroom, designer luggage, new clothes with tags still attached, 3 large suitcases for a 5-day vacation. It seemed like a lot, but I did not question it. On Thursday, Robert worked from home. He spent hours in his study with the door locked. I heard the printer running constantly. At dinner, he was distracted, checking his phone every few minutes. My mother filled the silence with chatter about restaurants we would try and beaches we would visit. When I asked about the itinerary, Robert looked up sharply. Do not worry about that. We will handle the details. On Friday, the day before we were supposed to leave, I came home from school to find a stranger in the living room, a man in a gray suit with silver hair and a briefcase open on the coffee table. My mother and Robert sat across from him, signing papers. When I walked in, all 3 of them looked up. The stranger closed his briefcase quickly. Robert stood. Claire, you are home early. Who is this? My mother's voice was smooth. Just our accountant. Tax season. Boring adult stuff. The stranger left without introducing himself. As he passed me in the hallway, a paper slipped from his briefcase. I picked it up to return it, and my eyes caught the letterhead. Morrison and Associates, Estate Planning and Trust Administration. Below that, in bold type, Ree Mitchell Family Trust, Beneficiary Amendment. He snatched it from my hands before I could read more. Thank you, he said coldly, and walked out the door. That night, I packed my small suitcase. I did not have designer luggage like my mother, just a worn duffel bag from middle school. I packed carefully. Clothes for warm weather, my journal, and a photograph of my father I had found hidden in an old book. The photo was creased and faded. My father holding baby me, both of us smiling. I tucked it into my journal where my mother could not find it. At 9 that night, Robert knocked on my door and entered without waiting. He carried a clipboard and pen. "Claire, I need to verify some travel information." He asked for my full legal name, Claire Elizabeth Mitchell, my date of birth, March 15, 2009. Then he asked for my social security number. "Why do you need that?" His smile did not reach his eyes. "TSA requirements, new security protocols." I gave him the number. What choice did I have? He wrote it down, nodded once, and left. At the door, he paused. "Get some sleep. Big day tomorrow." I lay in bed, unable to sleep. At 11, I heard laughter from downstairs. My mother's laugh. Genuine and unguarded. The laugh I remembered from childhood. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. "By this time next week it will all be done," Robert said. Finally, 8 years I have waited. 8 years of playing the devoted mother. Robert's voice dropped lower. "The boarding school in Switzerland is expecting her. No phone access, no internet, no contact with anyone who might ask questions." My mother laughed again. "By the time she is 18, the trust will be empty, and she will have no proof of anything." I pressed myself against the wall, barely breathing. Boarding school, Switzerland. The trust will be empty. They were not taking me on vacation. They were getting rid of me. I fled back to my room on silent feet, heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold. I had slept maybe 2 hours. My mind raced with everything I had heard. I considered running, but where would I go? To whom? I had no money, no phone that was not monitored, no one who would believe me over my mother and Robert. They were respected in the community. I was the problem child with emotional difficulties. I decided my only option was to play along, gather information, find an opportunity. Robert drove. My mother sat in front. I sat in the back, watching the Connecticut trees blur past. The car was too quiet. My mother made small talk about the weather. I memorized details, the route, the time, the mile markers. At the airport, a skycap took our luggage. 3 large suitcases for my mother and Robert, 1 small duffel for me. My bag was placed on a separate cart. "Why is my bag separate?" Robert did not look at me. Different check-in lines. "Do not worry about it." Inside the terminal, my mother linked her arm through mine. A gesture of motherly affection. It felt like a handcuff. We checked in at the counter. I asked for my boarding pass. The agent handed all 3 passes to Robert. "Here you are, sir. 3 passengers to Los Angeles, connecting through Atlanta." Robert pocketed all 3. "I will hold on to these. Easier to keep track." As we walked toward security, I caught a glimpse of the boarding passes in his hand. His and my mother's were printed on first-class cardstock with gold lettering. Mine was standard paper. Economy class. Seat 42F. Nowhere near them. They were not sitting together with me. They had never planned to sit together with me. The flight to Atlanta was 2 hours. I sat in the back of the plane between 2 strangers while my mother and Robert disappeared into first class. I used the flight to think. I could tell a flight attendant, but tell her what? That my parents were acting strange? I had no proof, just a conversation overheard in the dark. We landed in Atlanta at 4 in the afternoon, 3-hour layover before the Los Angeles connection. My mother and Robert met me at the gate. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Robert bought sandwiches. My mother scrolled her phone. I watched them, looking for cracks in the performance. At 5:30, Robert's phone buzzed. He checked it, showed the screen to my mother. Both of them stood. My mother turned to me with that warm, false smile. "Sweetheart, I spilled coffee on your jacket this morning. I just noticed." I looked down. There was no stain. I do not see anything. Robert stepped in. "It is on the back." You should go to the bathroom and clean it. We will wait right here." Every instinct screamed danger, but my mother's hand was on my shoulder, guiding me up. "Go on. We are not going anywhere." The bathroom was 50 feet away, then 100. I pushed through the door, checked my jacket. No stain, nothing. I splashed water on my face and stared at my reflection. 5 minutes passed. I walked back to the gate. The seats were empty. My mother and Robert were gone. I ran to the desk. The screen above flashed Flight 447 to Los Angeles. Now boarding. The gate agent looked up. "My parents," I gasped. "They were just here." She checked her screen, frowned. "The Ashfords? They boarded 10 minutes ago. They said you changed your mind." Through the window, I watched the plane pull away from the jetway. My mother was on that plane. My stepfather was on that plane. My passport, my phone, my money, everything was on that plane. And I was alone in an airport 1,000 miles from home with nothing but the clothes on my back and a truth no one would believe. The gate agent's words echoed in my head. "They said you changed your mind." I stood frozen, staring at the empty jetway, watching the plane taxi away through the window. Navigation lights blinked in the gathering dusk. My mother was on that plane, moving, leaving, gone. My legs gave out. I grabbed the counter to stay upright. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. The terminal noise faded to static, families laughing, announcements overhead, all of it distant like sounds from another world. A child ran past clutching a stuffed bear. I watched him find his mother's hand, such a simple thing, a child holding a parent's hand. It broke something inside me. "Please," I said to the gate agent, my voice cracked. "There has been a mistake. They would not leave me." Her expression shifted. Pity mixed with suspicion. I recognized the combination. "I am sorry, honey. The flight has departed. Is there someone I can call for you?" I opened my mouth to give my mother's number. Then I remembered. I did not have a phone. I did not have anything. My hands shook as I searched my backpack again. The side pocket where I always kept my phone, empty. The front zipper where I always kept my wallet, empty. I dumped everything onto a seat for the second time, hoping I had somehow missed something. Spare shirt, underwear, journal, toothbrush, nothing else. I thought back through the day, reconstructing the crime. The phone was in my pocket on the flight to Atlanta. I had used the bathroom during the flight and left my backpack in my seat. My mother had walked back from first class to check on me. "Just making sure you are comfortable, sweetheart." That was when she took it. While I was gone for 3 minutes, my own mother had stolen my lifeline. The wallet was harder to trace. I had seen it at the house that morning, in my bag. But Robert had carried my bag to the car. Robert had loaded it in the trunk. He had hours alone with my belongings. They had planned every detail, every single one. And the passport. I had never held my own passport. Robert kept all the travel documents for safekeeping, he said. Without identification, I could not prove who I was. I was a 16-year-old girl with no identity, stranded in an airport 1,000 miles from anything familiar. As I repacked my backpack with trembling hands, I noticed something I had missed before. My journal. The lock had been broken. Pages were torn out. I flipped through frantically, searching for the entries I had written about overhearing Robert's phone call, about the trust fund documents, about my suspicions. All of them were gone. They had read my journal, they knew I knew, and they had destroyed the evidence. I found the airline customer service desk. A long line of frustrated travelers stretched back from the counter. Delayed flights, lost luggage, missed connections, normal problems, solvable problems. I waited 20 minutes, rehearsing what to say, hoping someone would help me. When I reached the counter, the words tumbled out. "I am 16 years old. My parents left me here. They took my phone and my money. I do not know what to do." The agent was a tired woman with graying hair. "Do you have identification?" "No. They took everything." "Do you have a number we can call?" I gave her my mother's cell phone number. She dialed, waited, frowned. "This number is not in service." "That is impossible." That is my mother's phone. I am sorry, honey. The number does not work. She exchanged a look with her colleague. I knew that look. The problem child look. The attention seeker look. I had seen it my whole life. Are you sure your parents left you? Maybe there was a miscommunication. There was no miscommunication. They told the gate agent I changed my mind. I did not change my mind. The supervisor arrived. A man in his 50s with an official badge and an official frown. He asked me to repeat my story. I did, my voice steadier now, anger replacing panic. He listened, took notes, made a phone call. When he hung up, his expression had hardened. I contacted the flight. The passengers in seats 2A and 2B, Linda and Robert Ashford, confirmed that you chose to stay behind. They said you wanted to visit a friend in Atlanta. My stomach dropped. That is a lie. I do not know anyone in Atlanta. His voice was flat. They also mentioned you have a history of emotional difficulties. The supervisor studied me with an expression I could not read. Then he picked up his phone again and made a second call. This one was quieter. He cupped his hand over the receiver. When he hung up, something in his demeanor had shifted. He was no longer dismissive. He was nervous. Wait here, he said. Someone from security needs to speak with you. He would not meet my eyes. 2 airport security officers approached minutes later, a man and a woman, both in uniform. Claire Mitchell? Yes, come with us, please. It was not a request. They took me to a small room off the main terminal. Fluorescent lights, plastic chairs, a one-way mirror on the wall. I sat alone for 10 minutes before the officers entered. They did not offer water. They did not offer comfort. They offered questions. State your full name. Claire Elizabeth Mitchell. Date of birth? March 15, 2009. Current address? I gave them the Connecticut address. And you claim your parents abandoned you here? I do not claim it. It happened. The female officer leaned forward. We see this a lot, Claire. Kids who want attention. Kids who run away and then make up stories. I did not run away. They left me. Then why would they tell the flight crew you chose to stay? Because they are lying. Parents do not usually lie about their children. I wanted to scream. My parents are not usual. The male officer checked his tablet, scrolled through something. His expression shifted. You are flagged in our system, Claire. What does that mean? He did not answer directly. Your stepfather filed a report with TSA 3 days ago. Said you might try to travel alone. Said you have a history of running away and making false accusations. My blood ran cold. Robert had planned this before we even left Connecticut. He had set me up so no one would believe a word I said. The female officer stood. Her chair scraped against the floor. If you cannot verify your identity and we cannot reach a guardian, we are required to contact Child Protective Services. You will be placed in emergency custody until we sort this out. How long will that take? Her face showed no sympathy. Could be days, could be weeks, depends on how cooperative you are. After an hour, the officers conferred outside the room. I watched through the glass as they argued. The female officer shook her head. The male officer made another phone call. When they returned, their tone had changed. Not friendly, but less hostile. We are releasing you into the terminal. What about CPS? We do not have grounds to hold you. You have not committed a crime. And my parents? That is a civil matter, not our jurisdiction. The male officer handed me a card. If you are telling the truth, go to the police station in the city. File a report. How? I have no money for a cab. No phone to call anyone. He shrugged. Not our problem. We deal with airport security, not family disputes. They escorted me to the door and left me in the terminal. Alone again. No closer to help than before. I walked toward baggage claim on autopilot. Someone had mentioned a traveler's aid desk. I found it near the exit. Closed. A sign said, back at 8 a.m. The clock on the wall read 7:47 in the evening, 12 hours until anyone could help me. I found a corner near gate B12, away from the crowds, partially hidden by a pillar. I slid down the wall and sat on the cold floor. Around me, the sounds of a functioning world continued without pause. Families reuniting, couples kissing hello, children running to grandparents. Everyone belonged to someone. Everyone except me. I had not cried since I was 12. I learned young that tears only made things worse. My mother used them against me. Robert called them manipulation. So I stopped. I built walls. I held everything inside. But alone on the floor of that airport, I could not stop the tears. Silent sobs shook my body until I had nothing left. I cried for the mother who chose money over her daughter. I cried for the father I lost 8 years ago, or thought I lost, when my mother told me his plane crashed. I cried for 16 years of trying to be good enough, trying to earn love that was never real. I closed my eyes and saw my mother's face. Not the cold mask of the past 6 years, but the warm smile from before. The mother who made pancakes on Sunday mornings. The mother who sang me to sleep. That mother was gone. Maybe she had never existed. Maybe love was just another word for waiting to be betrayed. I do not know how long I sat there. My tears dried. The terminal grew quieter. I stared at the floor, too exhausted to think. Then a shadow fell across me. I flinched, expecting security again. Instead, an older man stood a few feet away. Gray beard streaked with white, worn olive jacket, boots with holes, a battered backpack over one shoulder. He did not look threatening. He looked tired. He looked kind. "You have been sitting here for 2 hours. I have been watching." My voice was hoarse. "Please leave me alone." He did not move. "Whoever left you here, they are not coming back. You know that, do you not?" I had no strength to argue. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a water bottle and a sandwich. "Eat first, then we talk." I looked at the food, then at the stranger. Every warning I had ever heard screamed in my head. But I was starving. I was alone. I had no other options. I took the water. I took the sandwich. The man settled a few feet away, giving me space. "My name is Marcus, and I think I know who you are." My hand froze halfway to my mouth. "How could you possibly know who I am?" He looked at me with eyes that held something like grief. "Because I have been waiting for you. I just did not know it until tonight." I held the water bottle Marcus gave me with trembling hands. I had not eaten since a granola bar 14 hours ago. The sandwich was peanut butter on white bread, slightly crushed, nothing special. It tasted like survival. While I ate, I studied the man who had appeared out of nowhere to help me. His gray beard was neatly trimmed despite his circumstances. His eyes were sharp and clear, not the glazed look I expected from someone living on the streets. His clothes were worn but clean. The olive jacket had patches at the elbows. His boots had been resoled more than once. Everything about him suggested someone who once had structure, discipline, purpose. He sat a respectful distance away, not crowding my space. Patient. Watchful. Like he had done this before. I swallowed a bite of sandwich and wiped my mouth. "You said you know who I am." "Explain." Marcus did not answer immediately. He looked at me, really looked, like he was searching for something in my face. "You have his eyes," he said quietly. "I noticed it the moment you walked past me 4 hours ago." "Whose eyes?" His voice dropped. "Finish eating. Then I will tell you everything I know." I finished the sandwich, drank half the water. My strength returned slowly. Enough to think. Enough to assess. "Why should I trust you? I do not know anything about you." "Fair," Marcus said. "Let me fix that." He shifted against the pillar, settling in. 15 years ago, I was lead maintenance supervisor for Sky Atlantic Airlines, right here at Hartsfield-Jackson. I recognized the name. Sky Atlantic was one of the largest carriers in the country. "I had a team of 40, Marcus continued. "We kept planes in the air. Good job, good pay, good life. What happened?" His jaw tightened. "I got in the way of some powerful people. People who wanted to cut corners on safety inspections. I refused to sign off on planes that were not ready to fly. They set you up, made it look like I falsified maintenance records. I was fired, blacklisted, prosecuted. He paused. I spent 8 months in federal prison for something I did not do. By the time I got out, I had nothing. No job, no savings, no family willing to look at me. Were you guilty? His laugh was bitter. I have been living in and around this airport for 10 years. It is the only home I have left. I heard the resignation in his voice, but also something else, a wound that had never healed. But here is the thing, Claire. The man who tried to destroy me, the one who ordered the cover-up, he lost too. A year after I went to prison, his plane went down over the Atlantic. My heart stuttered. What was his name? Marcus looked at me with something like sorrow. His name was Ethan Mitchell, your father. My world tilted. My father had been Marcus's enemy, the man responsible for sending him to prison? I opened my mouth to speak, but Marcus held up a hand. Wait, that is not the whole story, not even close. I hated Ethan Mitchell for years, Marcus said, blamed him for everything. But after I got out, after I had nothing but time, I started digging into what? The accident, the cover-up, the evidence that sent me to prison. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a worn photograph. This is from the company Christmas party, 2 months before everything went wrong. I took the photo with shaking hands. A group of men in suits, champagne glasses raised. In the center stood my father, younger, smiling. Beside him was a woman I recognized immediately, my mother in a red dress. And on my father's other side, a man with cold eyes and a politician's smile. Who is that? Marcus's voice was flat. Robert Ashford. He was the CFO of Sky Atlantic, and he was the one who actually ordered the safety shortcuts. Your father found out. He was going to report it to the FAA. Robert could not let that happen, I said slowly, piecing it together. So he framed me to discredit any investigation. And when that was not enough... Marcus paused, his voice cracking. The plane crash that killed your father? It was not an accident, Claire. Robert arranged it, and your mother helped him. I stared at the photograph, my vision blurring. Then I noticed something on Marcus's wrist. A leather bracelet, cracked and faded with age. 2 initials were carved into the leather. EM. Where did you get that? I whispered. Marcus touched the bracelet like a prayer. Your father gave it to me. The day before he died. He said if anything happened to him, I should find his daughter someday and tell her the truth. The terminal spun around me. My mother, a murderer? Robert, an assassin in a business suit? No, that is insane. My father died in a plane crash. It was an accident. That is what they wanted everyone to believe. You have no proof. Marcus's eyes were steady. I have enough to know I am right, but you are correct. I cannot prove it. Not yet. My mind raced, connecting dots I had never seen before. My mother's coldness after my father died. The rapid remarriage to Robert. His control over everything in our lives. The trust fund, the documents, the boarding school in Switzerland. They are not just trying to steal my money, I said. They are trying to get rid of me. Marcus nodded slowly. You are the last loose end. The only person who could ever ask questions about your father's death. About where his money really went. What do I do? I am 16. I have nothing. No one believes me. Marcus stood and offered his hand. Not no one. I believe you. And I know someone who can help. Who? Someone who has been waiting a long time for proof that Ethan Mitchell's death was not an accident. Someone with access to systems, records, things I cannot touch. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed caution. But I had no other options. I took his hand. Marcus led me through the terminal, away from the crowds. We reached a door marked Authorized Personnel Only. He knocked a pattern, 3 short, 2 long. The door opened a crack. An eye peered through. Marcus, what are you doing here? I need to see Denise. Tell her it is urgent. Tell her it is about the Mitchell case. The door closed. Footsteps retreated. The Mitchell case? I asked. Marcus kept his voice low. After your father's plane went down, there was an internal investigation. It was shut down fast. Robert had connections, but some people never stopped looking. Denise? She was my assistant supervisor. She believed me when no one else did. She has spent 10 years collecting evidence, waiting for the right moment. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, the door swung wide. A woman stood there, mid-50s, African-American, airport uniform crisp and pressed. Her name tag read, Denise Carter, Operations Manager. Her face was composed, but her eyes were sharp and searching. She looked at me and her breath caught. My God, you look just like him. Denise's hands trembled as she ushered us inside. She led us down a long corridor past offices and break rooms. At one point she stopped, turned, and stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. I am sorry, she whispered. It is just... I watched him die on a radar screen, and now his daughter is standing in front of me. She wiped her eyes and kept walking. Her office was small, cluttered with files and monitors and aviation charts. She gestured for me to sit. Tell me everything, from the beginning. I told her my story, the abandonment, the theft of my phone and wallet, the security interrogation. The TSA flag Robert had filed. Denise typed as she listened, accessing systems I could not see. You are right, she said finally. You are flagged in the system, but it is not a standard runaway alert. What is it? She frowned at her screen. It is a restricted access flag, placed by someone with federal-level clearance. Robert? No, Robert does not have that kind of access. This came from higher up. Marcus leaned forward. Who? Denise shook her head. I cannot see the source. It is locked behind security protocols I cannot breach. But here is what does not make sense, she continued. The flag was not placed to find you. It was placed to protect you. My confusion deepened. Protect me? From who? Denise pulled up another screen. There is a notation attached. It says, if subject is located, contact immediately. Priority 1. Contact who? Denise hesitated, then met my eyes. The chairman of Sky Atlantic Airlines. My mind reeled. Sky Atlantic. The company my father built, the company Robert supposedly destroyed him to control. Why would the chairman want to find me? Because the current chairman is not Robert Ashford. Robert was forced out 3 years ago after a financial scandal. The current chairman... Denise stopped, looked at Marcus, then back at me. I think you need to see this for yourself. She picked up her phone and hesitated. If I make this call, there is no going back. Whoever is on the other end of that flag, they will come here. Tonight. Who is the chairman? Marcus answered before Denise could speak. We do not know. After Robert was removed, someone bought the company through a series of shell corporations. No one knows who is really in charge. But they want to find me. They have been looking. Denise nodded. For years, apparently. The flag was placed 8 years ago, right after your father died. 8 years. Someone had been searching for me for 8 years, since the moment my father's plane went down. Make the call. Denise dialed. Spoke in low tones. I caught fragments. Mitchell. Yes, she is here. I understand. Yes, sir. She hung up. Her face was pale. What did they say? Her voice shook. Someone is coming. They are sending a car from the private terminal. They said to tell you not to be afraid. They said to tell you that you are safe now. Marcus gripped my shoulder. Who is coming, Denise? She looked at me with an expression caught between fear and wonder. The chairman himself. He will be here within the hour. Who is he? Denise took a breath. I do not know his name, but he asked me to give you a message. He said to tell you that Goodnight Moon was always his favorite too. The words hit me like a physical blow. Goodnight Moon, our book. My father's voice in the dark, reading me to sleep. No one knew about that. No one except him. I sat in that cramped office surrounded by strangers, and for the first time in 8 years, I let myself believe the impossible. Maybe my father was not dead after all. Two men in suits arrived at Denise's office within minutes. Airline security, but different from the officers who had interrogated me earlier. These men were professional, deferential. They addressed me as Miss Mitchell. "Please come with us," the taller one said. "You will be more comfortable in the executive lounge." I looked at Marcus. He nodded. "I will be right behind you." We moved through corridors I never knew existed, past baggage handling areas, maintenance bays, staff break rooms. The airport had a whole world behind its public face. Finally, we reached a set of double doors with the Sky Atlantic logo embossed in gold. The sign read, "Executive Lounge, Invitation Only." Inside was another world. Leather couches, mahogany tables, crystal decanters catching the light. A world away from the cold metal bench where I had sat crying just 2 hours before. Staff members in crisp uniforms moved with purpose, setting out water, adjusting lights. Everyone glanced at me with barely concealed curiosity. I felt like an exhibit, a specimen under glass. Marcus settled into a chair nearby, watching the door. I sank into a leather couch and waited for whoever was coming. Minutes passed. I counted them on the wall clock. My leg bounced. My fingers twisted the hem of my shirt. Questions piled up faster than I could process. Who was the chairman? Was he really my father? Why did he wait 8 years? What if it was a trap? What if Robert and my mother had connections I did not know about? "Marcus," I said, "who did Denise call?" "Really?" He did not look at me. His fingers touched the leather bracelet on his wrist. "Someone who has been looking for you for a very long time. That is not an answer. It is the only one I can give you right now." Some things need to be seen, not explained. I wanted to scream with frustration. Instead, I watched the door and waited. Staff members came and went, whispered conversations, nervous glances. One woman made 3 phone calls in rapid succession. A man in a pilot's uniform entered, spoke to security, and left quickly. Something was happening, something big. I caught fragments of conversation. "Private jet, ETA 20 minutes, clear the hangar." A young staff member approached me with a tray of refreshments. Maybe early 20s, blonde ponytail. Her hands shook so badly the glasses rattled. "Miss Mitchell," she whispered. "I just wanted to say, we have all heard about you. Everyone here, he never stopped talking about you, never stopped looking." Before I could respond, a supervisor called the girl away sharply. She scurried off without another word. The lounge doors opened. A man entered. Mid-60s, silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, leather briefcase. His suit cost more than my entire wardrobe. He moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to controlling rooms. His eyes found me immediately, assessing, calculating, then softening. "Claire Mitchell. My name is Thomas Harrington. I am an attorney with Morrison and Associates." My stomach clenched. Morrison and Associates. The letterhead I had seen on the estate documents at my house. I know that name. "You are my mother's lawyer." Thomas shook his head. "I was your mother's lawyer. Briefly, 8 years ago, before I understood what she really was." He sat across from me, briefcase on the table between us. "I have been searching for you for 2 years at the request of my current client. Your mother made that exceptionally difficult. Who is your client? You will meet him shortly. First, I need to verify some information." He pulled out a legal pad and pen. Questions began. "When did your mother tell you your father had died? What exactly did she say about the circumstances? Did you ever see a death certificate? A grave? Any official documentation?" I answered each question, and each answer pulled at threads I had never examined. I realized I had never seen proof. I had simply believed because my mother told me. Thomas paused, studying me. "Claire, did your mother ever explain why there was no funeral, no memorial service, no grave for you to visit?" My mouth went dry. I had asked once, years ago. My mother's answer came back to me now. The ocean does not give back what it takes. But Thomas was shaking his head slowly. "There was no crash over the Atlantic, Claire. The plane went down over Lake Michigan, and the pilot's body was recovered within a week. Thomas opened his briefcase and removed a thick folder. Your father was a careful man. Before his accident, he established a trust fund in your name. I know. I found documents about it. $12 million. His eyebrows rose. You found them? Where? In our basement. My mother took them before I could read everything. That explains a great deal. He spread papers across the table. The Mitchell Family Trust was established with $12 million when you were 3 years old. It was designed to transfer to your full control on your 18th birthday. Your mother as trustee has made withdrawals. Significant ones. He showed me a ledger. Numbers blurred together. $4.2 million over the past 8 years. Supposedly for your education, medical care, and living expenses. I laughed bitterly. I went to public school. I have never been to a doctor except for required checkups. I do not have a car. I barely have clothes that fit. Thomas nodded grimly. We know. The money went elsewhere. Real estate in Robert's name. Offshore accounts. A lifestyle your mother felt she deserved. What is left? Approximately $7.8 million. Which your mother planned to drain completely before your 18th birthday. That is why they left me at the airport. Partly. But there is more. Much more. Thomas leaned forward, his voice dropping. Claire, we intercepted communications between your mother and a boarding school in Geneva. Very exclusive, very private, and very skilled at making students disappear. My blood ran cold. Disappear? Students who become inconvenient. Children whose families want them removed without the messiness of legal proceedings. Your mother was not just abandoning you, Claire. She was erasing you. Thomas reached into the briefcase again. This time he removed not papers but a photograph. Old, slightly faded. My client asked me to show you this. He said you would understand. I took the photograph with trembling hands. A man in his early 30s, laughing, sunlight on his face. On his shoulders sat a little girl, maybe 4 or 5, arms spread wide like airplane wings, both of them smiling with pure, unguarded joy. The background showed a backyard, a swing set, autumn leaves. I recognized the swing set. The house in Virginia, before everything changed. That is me, yes. And that is... My voice broke. That is my father. I studied the face, the eyes. My eyes, I realized. The same shape, the same color. Marcus had said it. Now I saw it. I do not remember this day. Thomas's voice was gentle. You were 4, but he remembers it. He said it was the happiest day of his life. My vision blurred. I had not cried over my father in years. I thought I had no tears left. But this photograph, this proof of a happiness I could not recall, broke something open. I pressed the photo to my chest and let myself feel everything I had been holding back. Marcus moved to sit beside me. His hand rested on my shoulder. He kept that photo in his wallet for 8 years, he said quietly. Through everything, the accident, the recovery, the years of searching. He told me once that when he found you, he wanted you to see it. To know that nothing, not time, not distance, not your mother's lies, could make him forget his little girl. I wiped my eyes, still clutching the photograph. I do not understand. If my father survived, why did he not find me? Thomas and Marcus exchanged a look. The accident was real, Thomas began. The plane did go down. But your father was pulled from the wreckage, barely alive. He was in a coma for 3 months, Marcus added. By the time he woke up, your mother had already filed for divorce, claimed you as her sole dependent, and moved across the country. Thomas continued. Your mother told the courts that Ethan had abandoned you both, that he was unstable, dangerous. She produced documents, forged we now know, suggesting a history of violence. There was a restraining order, Marcus said. If he came within 500 feet of you or your mother, he would have been arrested. My fists clenched. So he just gave up? No. Thomas's voice was firm. He spent every dollar he had fighting her in court. She changed your names, your addresses, your schools. Every time we got close, she ran again. 8 years, Marcus said. 8 years of dead ends and false trails. Until tonight. What changed tonight? Thomas almost smiled. Your mother made a mistake. She used a traceable credit card at the Atlanta airport, and your name triggered a flag we placed in the airline system years ago. The flag Denise found. Yes, a flag your father insisted on placing in every airport in America, just in case. A phone buzzed. Thomas checked it. His expression sharpened. He is here. He is walking from the private terminal now. My heart hammered against my ribs. 8 years. 8 years of believing my father was dead. 8 years of wondering why no one loved me. And now he was walking down a corridor, about to see me for the first time since I was 8 years old. Thomas stood and straightened his tie. Marcus squeezed my shoulder one last time. Denise appeared in the doorway, eyes wet. He is coming. Oh God, he is really coming. I could not move, could not breathe. I stood on legs that felt like water, the photograph still pressed to my heart. Footsteps in the corridor. Slow, deliberate. The door swung inward. A man stepped through, tall, gray at the temples, lines on his face that were not there in the photograph, but the eyes were the same. My eyes. He saw me across the room and stopped. For a moment, neither of us moved. 8 years collapsed into a single breath. Then he spoke, and his voice was exactly as I remembered it. The voice that read, "Good night, moon, in the dark." The voice I heard in my dreams for years after he died. Claire. His voice cracked. My Claire. Thomas stepped forward. Mr. Mitchell, she is here. She is safe. My father did not seem to hear. He crossed the room in 3 strides. Before I could speak, before I could think, his arms were around me. He held me the way he did in the photograph, like I was the most precious thing in the world. I had spent 8 years believing my father was dead, 8 years being told I was unlovable, unwanted, a problem to be managed. And now he was holding me, crying into my hair, whispering my name over and over like a prayer he had been saying for years. In that moment, every lie my mother ever told me shattered like glass. And I understood something I had forgotten. I was worth finding. I was worth fighting for. I was worth 8 years of never giving up. My father held me like I might disappear if he let go. His body shook with silent sobs. I could not move, frozen between disbelief and desperate hope. His arms were real. His heartbeat against my cheek was real. He was real. I breathed in and something unlocked. Coffee and pine. The same smell from my childhood. Suddenly I was 4 years old again, being carried to bed after falling asleep on the couch. The memory was physical, visceral, undeniable. This was my father, not a ghost, not a dream. My father. He pulled back just enough to look at my face. His hands framed my cheeks. Thumbs wiped tears I did not know I was crying. Let me look at you. Let me see you. His voice cracked. You have your mother's face, but your eyes, those are mine. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. 8 years of silence. 8 years of grief. Where do you even begin? They told me you were dead. The words came out broken. They said your plane crashed, over the ocean. They said there was no body. Pain flickered across his face. I know what they told you, and I know what they told me. What do you mean, what they told you? He guided me to a couch and sat beside me, never releasing my hand. Claire, when I woke up from the coma 3 months after the crash, the first thing I asked for was you. And? His voice dropped to a whisper. Your mother told me you were dead. A car accident. 2 weeks after I went into the hospital. She said you died on impact. That she had you cremated before I even woke up. The room tilted. My mother told me my father was dead. She told my father I was dead. Each of us grieving alone for 8 years while she collected the insurance, controlled the trust, and built her new life on our graves. He reached into his jacket and withdrew a folded paper, creased and worn from being handled 1,000 times. She gave me this. Your death certificate. I kept it because I could not let go. He handed it to me. I saw my own name typed in official font. Claire Elizabeth Mitchell, deceased. Cause of death, vehicular trauma. The date was 2 weeks after my father's plane went down. I carried my daughter's death certificate for 6 years, he said, before I discovered it was a forgery. Tell me about the plane. What really happened? He took a breath. This was a story he had told before, but never to me. It was not an accident. The maintenance logs were falsified. Critical systems were sabotaged. By who? Robert. He was my CFO. I trusted him with everything. The company finances, the expansion plans, the safety protocols. I discovered he had been embezzling for years, millions. I confronted him privately and gave him a chance to return the money and resign quietly. But he did not. No. Instead, he went to your mother. They had been having an affair for months. I did not know. I felt sick. The timeline clicked into place. They decided it was easier to kill me than face prosecution. Robert arranged the sabotage. Your mother provided the alibi. The plane went down over Lake Michigan. The pilot, a man named James, managed to crash land instead of a full impact. He died on impact. I should have died too. But you did not. A fishing boat saw the wreckage. They pulled me out of the water barely breathing. I spent 3 months in a coma in a hospital in Wisconsin. By the time I woke up, your mother had already destroyed both our lives. I thought of all the nights I had lain awake talking to my dead father in the dark, telling him about my day, asking him why he left, begging him to come back. He had been alive the whole time, in a hospital bed, then searching. Always searching. Every whispered prayer I sent into the darkness, he had been trying to answer. When I found out you were alive, my father continued, that the death certificate was fake, I hired every investigator I could find. How did you find out? His expression hardened. A private detective tracked down the funeral home your mother claimed she used. There was no record, no cremation, no body, no Claire Mitchell. That was 6 years ago? Yes, and every day since then I have been looking for you. Thomas spoke from across the room. We tracked 14 different identities over 6 years. 14 names, 14 addresses. Each time we located her, she was already gone. My father's hand tightened on mine. She knew I was looking. She was always one step ahead. So, what changed? How did you find me tonight? Marcus stepped forward. That would be me. I looked at the homeless man who had given me a sandwich and led me to Denise and set all of this in motion. I recognized your eyes the moment you sat down in that terminal. I have been carrying a photo of you for 10 years. He pulled out a worn photograph. Me at age 6 with a gap-toothed smile sitting on a swing. Your father gave this to me the day before his plane went down. He said if anything ever happened to him, I should watch over you. I stared at Marcus, reprocessing everything. But you said my father was your enemy. You said he sent you to prison. Marcus shook his head slowly. I thought he did. For years I believed Ethan had betrayed me. But the evidence that sent me to prison was planted by Robert. Your father was framed too. We were both his victims. I only learned the truth after Ethan woke up and started fighting back. My father took over. Marcus was my best maintenance supervisor. When Robert started cutting corners on safety, Marcus refused to sign off on compromised aircraft. So Robert framed him to get him out of the way. Yes, and I believed the evidence. I testified against Marcus at his trial. Marcus's voice was quiet. He did not know. None of us knew what Robert was really doing. When I woke up from the coma and started investigating, my father said, I found the real documents, the forged signatures, the falsified records. All of it pointed to Robert. I found Marcus in Atlanta 3 years ago, living in the airport where he used to work. I tried to apologize, to explain. Marcus interrupted. And I did not want to hear it. Not at first. I had spent too many years hating him, but he kept coming back, kept showing me evidence, kept asking me to help find his daughter. My father's voice broke. I told him everything. About Claire, about the fake death certificate, about your mother's lies. Marcus looked at me. I could not save myself, but I could help save you. So I stayed at this airport, watched, waited, hoping that someday, somehow you would pass through. And tonight, after 10 years, I finally kept my promise to your father. Thomas had been silent, but now he moved to stand beside my father. His hand rested briefly on my father's shoulder. A gesture of solidarity that spoke of years of shared struggle. What they are not telling you, Claire, is that your father sold everything to fund the search. The house, the cars, his stake in 3 companies. He rebuilt Sky Atlantic from scratch just to have the resources to keep looking. My father shook his head. None of it mattered. Only you. My mind raced. So tonight, leaving me at the airport, what was the point? They already had the money, Thomas answered. Not all of it. The trust fund structure requires your signature on certain documents once you turn 18. Without you, they can drain the remaining funds, but they cannot access the principal legally. They wanted me gone before I could claim anything. Worse than that. Thomas's face was grim. We have evidence they were planning to send you to a facility in Geneva, a place that specializes in making inconvenient children disappear permanently. My father's jaw was set. They were not just abandoning you, Claire. They were trying to erase you, the same way they tried to erase me, but they failed. Yes, because of Marcus, because of Denise, because of 8 years of never giving up. I looked at my father. This man I thought was dead. This man who had spent nearly a decade searching for a daughter he was told had died. What do we do now? His eyes hardened. Now we finish this. Together. How? Your mother and Robert landed in Los Angeles 2 hours ago. They think their plan worked. They think you are stranded, alone, about to be picked up by the boarding school's people. But I am not. No, you are with me. And by tomorrow morning, they are going to know exactly how badly they miscalculated. The VIP lounge had grown quiet. Staff had retreated. Only my father, Marcus, Thomas, and Denise remained. My father turned to face me fully. I know you have questions, hundreds of them. I have 8 years of your life to catch up on, 8 birthdays I missed, 8 years of not being there when you needed me. I cannot change what happened. I cannot give you back the childhood they stole from both of us. His hands gripped mine. But I can promise you this. From this moment forward, you will never be alone again. You will never be abandoned. You will never wonder if someone loves you. How do I know this is real? How do I know you will not disappear again? He reached into his pocket and pulled out the leather bracelet. The one Marcus had been wearing. Marcus kept this safe for 10 years. Now it belongs to you. I saw the initials carved into the worn leather. E.M. My father's initials. I am not going anywhere, Claire. Not ever again. I slipped the bracelet onto my wrist. It was too big, made for a man's arm, but I did not care. For the first time in 8 years, I had something of my father's. Something real. He stood and extended his hand. Now, are you ready to make them pay for what they did to us? I looked at his hand. At the bracelet, at the photograph of myself as a little girl, still clutched in my other fist. I took his hand and rose. I have been ready my whole life. My father led me through the VIP lounge to a private conference room. The space had been transformed into something out of a crime drama. Monitors lined the walls, files spread across tables. Thomas stood at the head of the room with a projection screen behind him. Denise and Marcus took seats near the door. This was not a reunion anymore. This was a battle briefing. Everything we are about to show you has been compiled over 5 years, Thomas began. Some of it is difficult to see. Some of it will make you angry. All of it is true. I sat down. My father sat beside me. Our hands found each other. I need to know everything, I said. I am done being protected from the truth. My father squeezed my hand. That is why we are here. Thomas clicked a remote. The screen illuminated. Let us start at the beginning. Let us talk about who Linda Mitchell really is. Documents appeared on the screen as Thomas narrated. Linda Marie Cosgrove. Born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Father was a mechanic. Mother worked at a diner. They filed for bankruptcy twice before Linda turned 12. I stared at my mother's high school photo. Young, hungry, she was intelligent, ambitious, desperate to escape poverty. She put herself through community college, then transferred to a state university on scholarship. A wedding photo appeared, my father and my mother, young and smiling and hopeful. I barely recognized either of them. She met your father at a business conference in Chicago. He was 28, already successful, building Sky Atlantic from the ground up. She was 24, working as a sales assistant. My father spoke. She was charming, warm. She made me feel like I was the only person in the room. I thought I had found my partner for life. What changed? Success, money, power. The more I built, the more she wanted. And when I could not give her enough, when I refused to put her on the company board, she found someone who would. Thomas pulled up a financial record. 3 months after your parents' wedding, Linda opened a private bank account. She never told your father. Over the next 3 years, she siphoned off nearly $200,000 from household accounts. My father's voice was flat. I did not find that account until after the crash. She had been planning her exit strategy from the day she said I do. Thomas clicked to a new slide. Robert Ashford's corporate headshot appeared. Cold eyes. Politician's smile. Robert joined Sky Atlantic as CFO 6 years into the marriage. Your father hired him personally. He came highly recommended, my father said. Harvard MBA. Experience at 3 major airlines. I thought he was brilliant. He was brilliant, Thomas said, at hiding things. Security footage appeared. Grainy, time-stamped. A hotel lobby. My mother entering. Robert following 10 minutes later. This is from the Marriott in Atlanta, 7 months before the crash. More photos followed. Restaurant, parking garage, a cabin in the mountains. We have documented evidence of 37 meetings over 18 months, all while your father was traveling for business. Thomas hesitated. This next part is harder. He clicked. An audio file played. My mother's voice, laughing. He is so trusting. It is almost sad. He has no idea what is coming. Robert's voice. By this time next year, you will own half the company. And he will be... My mother, gone, one way or another. The recording cut off. I could not breathe. That was my mother's voice, laughing about destroying my father. When was this recorded? Thomas checked his notes. 4 months before the plane crash. A private investigator your father hired managed to plant a device in Robert's car. There is more, Claire. 37 hours of recordings. We have transcribed all of them. In one conversation, your mother discusses what to do if Ethan becomes a problem. Robert's answer was, he stopped. You do not need to hear it. Just know that premeditation is well documented. Thomas switched to technical documents, maintenance logs, engineering schematics. Robert had access to everything. As CFO, he could authorize maintenance schedules without oversight. What did he do? Falsified inspection reports, cleared an aircraft that had a compromised fuel line. The plane your father was supposed to fly that day was a ticking time bomb. My father took over. I was flying to Milwaukee for a board meeting. Private jet, just me and James, my pilot. His voice went hollow. 20 minutes into the flight, the fuel system failed. James tried to bring us down on the lake. He saved my life at the cost of his own. The fishermen, 2 brothers from Michigan, they saw the splash, pulled me out of the water. If they had been 5 minutes later, I would have drowned. Thomas continued. Within 48 hours, Robert had destroyed the maintenance records. The official cause was listed as mechanical failure of unknown origin. The investigation was closed within a month. How? Robert had connections, inspectors who owed him favors, a company lawyer who knew which questions not to ask. Marcus spoke from the back of the room, and a fall guy. Me. I was in prison by the time anyone thought to look deeper. I looked at my father. This man who had survived drowning, betrayal, years of searching. "James," I said, "the pilot. Did he have a family?" My father's eyes glistened. "A wife, 2 kids, younger than you." He pulled a photograph from the file. A man in a pilot's uniform, grinning, arm around a woman with 2 small children. "I have been supporting them since I recovered. It does not bring him back. Nothing can. But his children will never want for anything. I owe him that much." Thomas advanced to a timeline on the screen, dates and events color-coded. The day after the crash, before anyone knew if your father was alive or dead, Linda filed for divorce. She did not wait. She could not afford to. She needed legal separation before any investigation could freeze assets. The timeline continued. Day 3, divorce petition filed. Day 7, emergency custody motion for Claire. Day 14, death certificate issued for Claire, falsified. Day 30, life insurance claim filed, $2 million. Day 45, trust fund transfer of control. She hired 3 law firms, Thomas said. 1 for the divorce, 1 for the custody battle, 1 for the estate. She spent over $400,000 in legal fees in the first year alone. From my trust fund, partially, and from the life insurance payout. She declared your father legally dead before he even woke up from his coma. My father's voice was bitter. When I finally woke up, when I started asking questions, she had already built a wall of legal documents around you. A court filing appeared on screen, petition for protection from domestic abuse. She claimed I was violent, that I had threatened you and her. She produced medical records, forged, showing injuries that never happened. The restraining order was granted within a week. If I came within 500 feet of you, I would have been arrested. Thomas pulled up one final document. A handwritten letter on personal stationery. My mother's handwriting. This was found in Robert's office safe after he was forced out of the company. We believe she wrote it 2 weeks before the crash. I read the first line. My darling Robert. By the time you read this, we will be free. Ethan's plane leaves Tuesday. After that, everything changes. The letter was signed with a heart and the initial L. Thomas switched to financial documents, spreadsheets, bank statements, wire transfers. Your trust fund was established with $12 million. Your father intended it to be untouchable until you turned 18. But my mother was the trustee. Yes, and for 8 years she has been systematically draining it. A chart appeared, outgoing transfers by year. Year 1, $340,000 for educational expenses. Year 2, $520,000 for medical treatment. Year 3, $610,000 for security and housing. Year 4, $680,000 for specialized care. Years 5 through 8, $2,050,000 for various fraudulent claims. Total withdrawn, $4.2 million. For what? Thomas clicked to photos. A beach house in the Hamptons, a condo in Miami, a yacht, jewelry, designer clothes. For this, none of it in your name. All of it purchased with money meant for your future. What is left? $7.8 million. Still substantial. But here is the problem. He pulled up another document. Amendment to trust proposed. Your mother filed paperwork last month to accelerate the dissolution of the trust. If approved, she could empty the entire fund within 90 days. When does it get approved? It would have been approved tomorrow. Your 18th birthday is in 2 months. She was racing the clock. I sat in silence, processing. $4.2 million. My mother's beach house, my father's near death. 8 years of lies. My father stood. We need to move. They landed in Los Angeles 2 hours ago. The FBI has units in position. But we need to be there for the takedown. FBI? Thomas nodded. Wire fraud, mail fraud, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, child abandonment. We have been building this case for 3 years. Tonight, it ends. We moved through private corridors to a hangar. A sleek jet waited with the Sky Atlantic logo on the tail. I stopped at the stairs. "This is your plane?" My father's smile was sad. "One of them. I rebuilt the company from nothing after they tried to destroy me. I wanted to have the resources to find you, no matter what it took." We boarded. The cabin was luxury, leather seats, polished wood, soft lighting. I sank into a seat. My father sat across from me. The jet took off, climbing into the night sky over Atlanta. I watched the city lights shrink below. Thomas's phone buzzed. He answered, listened, his expression sharpening. "What is it?" Thomas covered the phone. "FBI surveillance in Los Angeles. Linda and Robert just left their hotel. They are heading to the airport." "They are running?" "No." His face was grim. "They booked 2 tickets to Geneva, one way, and they purchased a 3rd ticket in a different name." My blood ran cold. "Whose name?" Thomas met my eyes. "Yours. They are still planning to send you to the facility. They must have a backup plan to intercept you somewhere." My father's jaw set. "Not anymore, they do not." The jet banked west, engines roaring, racing toward the confrontation 8 years in the making. Somewhere over Tennessee, I read through the files Thomas had prepared. Every document, every photograph, every recorded conversation. My mother's voice, laughing about my father's death. My mother's handwriting, planning the murder of her husband. My mother's signature, draining my future one withdrawal at a time. I had spent 16 years wondering why she did not love me. Now I knew the truth. She had never seen me as a daughter, only as an asset, a key to a vault she intended to empty and discard. By the time the jet touched down in California, I had no more tears left. Only a cold, clear certainty that the woman who gave me life had been trying to steal it back, piece by piece, since the day my father's plane went down. And now it was time for her to answer for everything. The jet cut through darkness over New Mexico. I sat by the window, watching distant city lights below. The files Thomas gave me were spread across the table. Evidence of my mother's crimes. I had read every page, every document, every damning word. My hands no longer shook. My tears had dried. What remained was something harder, colder. Thomas worked his phone constantly, coordinating with the FBI, tracking my mother's movements. My father sat across from me, watching me with worried eyes. Marcus and Denise had stayed behind in Atlanta. Their part was done. "You do not have to be there," my father said. "You can wait at the hotel. Let the FBI handle it." "No. I need to say it myself. I need them to hear it from me." "Why?" I looked at him. "Because my mother spent 16 years speaking for me, deciding what I thought, what I felt, what I was worth." I turned back to the window. Today, I speak for myself. Thomas shared live updates from FBI surveillance. They checked out of the Beverly Hills Hotel 30 minutes ago, paid cash, left no forwarding address. Professional. They have had practice. This is not their first disappearing act. "The tickets to Geneva," I said. "What do we know?" Thomas pulled up the information. "First class, one way. Departing at 6 a.m. 3 tickets, Linda Ashford, Robert Ashford, and..." He paused. "Claire Mitchell. They still think they can get to me. They have contacts at the Geneva facility. Someone was supposed to intercept you in Atlanta, forge travel documents, and put you on a separate flight." My stomach turned. "Intercept me how?" "We do not know. The FBI is investigating. But the facility in Geneva is not just a boarding school. It is a network." Thomas's voice dropped. "Claire, your mother is not the only one who has used this system. There are other children, other families. The Bureau has been building a case for years. So arresting my mother could blow the whole thing open. She has names, contacts, payment records. If she cooperates, dozens of children could be found." My father leaned forward. "And if she does not cooperate?" Thomas's expression was grim. "Then we have enough to put her away for 30 years. Either way, she is finished. I processed the information. A network, other children. My mother was not just destroying one family. She was part of something larger, darker, more organized. How many? Thomas shook his head. We do not know. The facility in Geneva has been operating for over a decade. But some estimates suggest hundreds, Claire. Potentially hundreds of children who disappeared and were never found. The jet descended through clouds over the Pacific. City lights spread below like scattered diamonds. I had never been to Los Angeles. This was supposed to be a family vacation. The irony tasted bitter. We landed at a private terminal. No customs, no crowds. 3 black SUVs waited on the tarmac with engines running. A woman in a dark suit approached. 40s, sharp eyes, FBI badge visible. Mr. Mitchell, I am Special Agent Rivera. We have eyes on the targets. They are in the airport now, approaching the international terminal. We climbed into the lead SUV. Rivera drove. Thomas sat in front. My father and I sat in back. Current status, Rivera said. Subjects have passed through initial security. They are waiting at Gate 67 for the Geneva flight. Why have you not arrested them? Rivera's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. Because you deserve to see it, and because we want them to feel safe until the last possible moment. People who feel safe make mistakes. The SUV raced through airport access roads, behind the scenes, away from public eyes. My heart pounded. In minutes, I would see my mother for the first time since Atlanta, since the fake coffee stain, since the abandoned gate, since my entire world collapsed. What do I do when I see her? My father took my hand. Whatever you need to do. We are right beside you. Rivera's phone buzzed. She answered, listened, and her jaw tightened. Copy that. She turned to Thomas. We have a complication. Robert Ashford just separated from Linda. He is heading toward the parking garage instead of the gate. He is running? Or he is the distraction. We are splitting the team. Half on Linda, half on Robert. But be aware, if Robert has a backup plan, we might not know what it is yet. We entered the terminal through a staff entrance. Badges flashed, doors opened. The international terminal was quiet at this hour. Scattered travelers, cleaning crews. Gate 67 was at the end of a long corridor. And there, sitting in a first-class lounge chair, was my mother. I stopped. My breath caught. She looked exactly the same. Blonde hair perfectly styled, designer clothes, manicured nails. She was reading a magazine, calm, composed, like she was waiting for a spa appointment, not fleeing the country. Like she had not abandoned her daughter in an airport 12 hours ago. Rivera led the team forward. 4 FBI agents formed a loose perimeter. My mother did not notice until they were 20 feet away. She looked up. Her eyes found Rivera's badge first, then Thomas, then my father. Her face went white. Then she saw me. Rivera stepped forward. Linda Mitchell Ashford, you are under arrest for wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, and child abandonment. You have the right to remain silent. My mother stood so fast her magazine flew across the floor. This is harassment. This is a mistake. I want my lawyer. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. My mother's eyes darted around looking for escape. There was none. 4 agents. Nowhere to run. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, I can afford 100 attorneys. Her voice was ice. You have no idea who you are dealing with. Rivera did not blink. Ma'am, we know exactly who we are dealing with. As the agents moved to cuff her, my mother looked past them, directly at my father. Her composure cracked for just a moment, and something feral crossed her face. You, she breathed. You should have stayed dead. My father's voice was steady. I tried. You were not thorough enough. Her laugh was harsh, broken. I should have checked the lake myself. Rivera's radio crackled. Second target in custody. He tried to run. Did not get far. I felt grim satisfaction. Robert, running like a coward, caught in a parking garage. Where is he now? Being transported to the field office. He is already asking for a deal. My father stepped forward. The agents held my mother's arms, but she had not been led away yet. 8 years, Linda. 8 years I searched for my daughter. 8 years she believed I was dead. She was better off without you. She was alone, unloved, abandoned. You treated her like an inconvenience. I treated her like what she was, a means to an end, just like you were. My father's voice was quiet but lethal. You never loved either of us. Love? My mother laughed. Love does not pay for beach houses, Ethan. Love does not buy freedom, the trust fund. That is all she ever was to you, $12 million. That is what she was worth. And I would have had every penny if you had just stayed dead like you were supposed to. Something snapped inside me. I pushed past Thomas, past Rivera, until I was standing in front of my mother. Look at me. Her eyes slid to me, cold, calculating, without a trace of maternal warmth. Claire, sweetheart, this is all a misunderstanding. Do not. My voice did not waver. When I was 12, I asked you why Dad died. Do you remember what you said? She was silent. You said some people are not meant to stay. I thought you meant it philosophically, like fate or God's will. I stepped closer. But you meant it literally. You decided he was not meant to stay. You decided I was not meant to stay. We were just obstacles between you and the money. As agents led my mother away, she called out, "Claire, Claire, wait!" I stopped, but did not turn. You think you have won? You think this is over? I spoke over my shoulder. No, this is just the beginning. I know things, Claire, about your father, about the company, about things he does not want anyone to know. Rivera cut her off. Ma'am, you need to come with us. Now. My mother was pulled away, still shouting threats and promises that echoed down the terminal corridor. My father appeared at my side. You did not have to hear that. What she said about not loving you. I turned to face him. Yes, I did. I needed to hear it. I needed to stop hoping for something that was never real. And now? Now I want to look her in the eye one more time. In an interrogation room. With cameras recording. I want everything she has done documented where she cannot deny it. Agent Rivera approached. We are transporting both subjects to the federal building downtown. If you want to observe the interrogation? Observe? I shook my head. I want to be in the room. Rivera hesitated. That is highly irregular. Thomas stepped forward. The victim has a right to face her accuser, and Claire Mitchell is very much a victim here. Rivera considered, then nodded. 1 hour. We will have them processed by then. I looked at my father. Will you come with me? His hand found mine. Wherever you need to go, I am not leaving you again. We walked out of the terminal together. Father and daughter, united for the first time in 8 years, walking toward the moment when everything would finally be settled. I had spent 16 years being defined by my mother's lies. 16 years believing I was unlovable, unwanted, a burden to be managed. In one sentence, she had confirmed every fear I ever had, and in doing so, she had set me free. Because the truth, no matter how brutal, is better than the prettiest lie. And now, armed with that truth, I was going to make sure the whole world knew exactly what Linda Mitchell had done. Not for revenge, not for satisfaction, but because somewhere in Geneva, there were other children trapped in her network. Other daughters and sons whose parents had sold them for convenience. And if my story could save even one of them, then everything I had suffered would mean something. I walked out of that airport not as a victim, but as a witness, and I was ready to testify. The FBI field office was a fortress of concrete and glass in downtown Los Angeles. Everything was sterile, white walls, fluorescent lights, echoing corridors. Agents moved with purpose, speaking in clipped tones about subjects and evidence. My mother was somewhere in this building, in a cell, waiting. Agent Rivera led us to a small room with a one-way mirror. Through the glass I could see an interrogation room, empty except for a metal table and 2 chairs. She will be brought in shortly. You can observe from here. I shook my head. I told you, I want to be in the room. Rivera hesitated. It is not standard procedure. Thomas stepped forward with a document. I have filed a victim impact statement request. Claire has the legal right to face her accuser before formal charges are filed. Rivera read the document and sighed. 10 minutes. That is all I can give you. 10 minutes is enough. I stood before the one-way mirror, staring at the empty room. My reflection looked back at me. A girl I barely recognized, 16 years old, abandoned, betrayed, and somehow still standing. My father appeared beside me. You do not have to do this alone, I know. But the first part I need to say myself. Just me and her. And then? Then you can come in. Then we finish this together. A buzzer sounded. The interrogation room door opened. 2 agents escorted my mother inside, handcuffs removed but guards flanking her. She wore the same clothes from the airport, now wrinkled. Her hair was slightly disheveled. The first time I had ever seen her less than perfect. She sat in the metal chair, spine straight, chin lifted. Even now, even here, she projected control. Through the glass I studied her face, looking for cracks, looking for fear, looking for anything human. Her expression was stone. Unreadable, waiting. As I watched, my mother did something strange. She smiled, not at the mirror. She could not know anyone was watching. She smiled at nothing, at the empty room, at some private thought that amused her. It was the smile I remembered from childhood. The one that meant she had a secret. The smile that meant she believed she had already won. I pushed through the observation room door before I could change my mind. The corridor was 15 feet long, the longest walk of my life. An agent opened the interrogation room door. I stepped inside. The room was smaller than it looked through the glass. The air was cold, sterile, recycled. My mother looked up as I entered. For one fraction of a second, something flickered across her face. Surprise. Then the mask returned. I sat across from her. The metal table between us felt both too wide and not wide enough. Neither of us spoke. The silence was a weapon. I would not be the first to break. Finally, my mother sighed. Theatrical, performative. Claire, sweetheart, thank God you are safe. Safe? You left me in an airport with nothing. That was Robert's idea. I never wanted... Do not. My voice was ice. She stopped mid-sentence. Do not lie. Not anymore. Not to me. She leaned back, studying me with new eyes. You have changed. You are harder than you were. Her lips curved. You are more like me now. Something twisted in my stomach. I am nothing like you. Her smile widened. Keep telling yourself that. But I see it. That coldness in your eyes. That calculation. You got it from me, sweetheart. The only gift I ever gave you. I pulled a folder from under my arm. Thomas had given it to me before I entered. Inside was the most damning evidence we had. I spread the documents across the table one by one. Do you recognize these? Bank statements, hotel photographs, transcripts of recorded conversations, the forged death certificate with my name, the handwritten letter to Robert. With each document, her composure chipped away. Her eyes darted from paper to paper. Where did you get these? Does it matter? They are real. They are documented. They are going to put you in prison for the rest of your life. Her laugh was brittle. You do not understand how the system works, Claire. I have lawyers. I have connections. I have nothing. You have nothing. Robert is in the next room telling the FBI everything. The offshore accounts, the Geneva contacts, the other families. Her face went pale. He would not. He already has. He is trading everything he knows for a reduced sentence, including your little plan to make me disappear. Her composure shattered. That is not... I did not mean... He also told them about the man you hired, the one who was supposed to intercept me in Atlanta, the one who was supposed to put me on a plane to Geneva. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. For the first time in my memory, my mother had nothing to say. I watched her struggle to regain control, watched the calculation behind her eyes, the search for a new angle. Stop. She blinked. Stop what? Stop thinking about how to spin this. Stop looking for the escape route. There is none. I leaned forward. I only have one question. One thing I need to know before this is over. Did you ever love me? The question hung in the air. My mother stared at me. Not as a business asset, not as leverage, not as a key to Dad's money. My voice cracked despite my best efforts. Did you ever love me? Your daughter? Even once? Even for a single moment? Seconds passed. They felt like hours. Her expression shifted. Not to remorse, to something worse, consideration, assessment. Like she was deciding what answer would help her most. That calculation was the answer. The fact that she had to think about it. You were supposed to be my insurance policy, she said finally. Her voice was flat, stripped of pretense. What does that mean? Your father had everything. The company, the money, the future, and he was going to leave me with nothing. Her eyes met mine. You were my guarantee, my leverage, my way of making sure I got what I deserved. And when he died? When he died, you became worth $12 million. You were supposed to fund my freedom. I was 3 days old when you decided this? She shrugged. I have always been a planner. I looked at her hands, folded on the metal table, manicured nails perfect even now. Those hands had held me as a baby, brushed my hair before school, made me hot chocolate when I could not sleep. I tried to reconcile those memories with the woman before me and could not. It was like looking at a stranger wearing my mother's face. You never loved me. It was not a question anymore. She tilted her head. I loved what you could give me. Is that not the same thing? I stood. I had heard enough. I turned toward the door. Her voice stopped me. Do you not want to know why? The real reason? I turned back. I just heard the reason. Money. No. Her smile was thin, cruel. Money was the method, not the motive. Your father refused to give me what I was owed. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of building his company beside him. And when I asked for a seat on the board, he said no. He said I was not qualified, that I had not earned it. Her voice hardened. He took everything from me, Claire, my ambition, my potential, my future. He looked at me and saw a wife, not a partner. She stood, palms flat on the table. So, yes. I found Robert. I made a plan, and I took everything from him, including his daughter, especially his daughter, because taking you hurt him more than taking the money ever could. The truth settled into my bones. This was never about the trust fund, never about the money. It was about making my father suffer. And I was the weapon. You used me to destroy him. For 10 years. Poetic, is it not? His greatest treasure, turned into his greatest pain. My voice was barely audible. And me? What about my pain? Her expression did not change. Collateral damage. Agents entered the room. Time was up. They moved to escort her out. At the door, she turned back. You will regret this. I met her eyes. The only thing I regret is believing you. Ever. The door closed behind her. She was gone. My father pulled me into an embrace. I stood rigid for a moment, then collapsed against him. The tears came. Not for my mother, for the mother I never had, for the lie I spent 16 years believing. It is over, he whispered. It is finally over. I shook my head against his chest. Not yet. There is still the trial, the other children, the network. We will face all of it. Together. I pulled back and looked at him. Promise? I spent 8 years looking for you. You think I am going anywhere now? We walked out of that interrogation room together. My father and I. Behind us, Linda Mitchell Ashford was being processed, photographed, locked in a cell to await trial. In the coming months, she would face charges that carried sentences measured in decades. She would watch her empire crumble, her secrets exposed, her network dismantled one contact at a time. And through it all, I would be there. Not as her daughter. That bond was broken beyond repair. But as a witness, as a survivor, as living proof that some things are stronger than blood, stronger than money, stronger than all the manipulation and cruelty in the world. Things like truth, like justice, like a father who never stopped searching and a daughter who finally found the courage to stop running from the truth. 3 months passed. The federal courthouse rose against a gray October sky. I stood at the base of the steps, heart pounding. Today I would testify. Today I would tell the world what my mother did. My father stood beside me. You do not have to do this. Thomas can present the evidence without your testimony. No, I need to say it myself. I need them to hear it from me. Why? I looked at the courthouse doors, because my mother spent 16 years speaking for me, deciding what I thought, what I felt, what I was worth. I started up the steps. Today, I speak for myself. The trial had lasted 8 days. I watched from the gallery as prosecutors built their case piece by piece. The financial documents showing $4.2 million in fraudulent withdrawals. The recordings of conversations between my mother and Robert. The maintenance logs proving sabotage on my father's plane. The forged death certificates. The Geneva connection with bank transfers to offshore accounts. Witnesses took the stand one after another. FBI forensic accountants traced every dollar she stole. Former Sky Atlantic employees testified about Robert's access to maintenance systems. The private investigator who planted the recording device. And then James's widow, the pilot's wife who described losing her husband to a mechanical failure that was actually murder. Her testimony broke me. Broke half the courtroom. Robert had taken a plea deal 3 weeks after the arrest. In exchange for full testimony against my mother, his charges were reduced. He spent 2 days on the stand, detailing everything, every conversation, every plan, every crime. When my mother's lawyer tried to discredit him, Robert produced handwritten notes she had given him, instructions for draining the trust fund, contacts in Geneva, contingency plans if my father was ever found alive. My mother's face went white when those notes were entered into evidence. The most damaging testimony came from an unexpected source. A maid who had worked in our Connecticut home for 3 years took the stand. She described finding me crying in my room one night, asking where my father was. My mother's response, overheard through the door: "Your father is dead, and the sooner you forget he existed, the better for everyone." The maid had quit the next day. She kept that memory for 5 years, waiting for someone to ask. Then my name was called. I stood, smoothed my dress. Simple navy blue, chosen by my therapist. Something that makes you feel like yourself, not a victim, not a spectator, yourself. The walk to the witness stand was 30 feet. It felt like 30 miles. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. I sat. The courtroom was silent. 200 people watching, cameras recording. My mother 10 feet away. I did not look at her. Not yet. The prosecutor guided me through my story. The abandonment at Atlanta airport, the theft of my phone and wallet, the fake coffee stain, the years of isolation, being called the problem child, the trust fund I never knew existed, finding the documents in the basement, the conversation I overheard, the night Marcus found me, the reunion with my father, the truth about the plane crash. Claire, did your mother ever tell you your father was dead? Yes, when I was 8 years old. And did you believe her? My throat tightened. I believed everything she told me. For 16 years, I believed every word. And when you learned the truth? I finally looked at my mother. Her face was stone, unreadable, unchanged. When I learned the truth, I realized I had never known her at all. The mother I thought I had never existed. The defense attorney approached. Miss Mitchell, is it not true that you have a history of behavioral problems? That your mother was simply trying to manage a difficult child? I felt the old shame rise. Then die. My mother created those reports. She told teachers and therapists that I was troubled so no one would believe me if I ever questioned her. I looked directly at the attorney. I was not a difficult child. I was a witness she was trying to discredit before I even knew there was something to witness. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. I waited in a small room with my father, Thomas, and Marcus. Marcus had come from Atlanta for the verdict. He said he needed to see it end. 6 hours. I paced, checked my phone, paced again. What if they do not believe me? My father's hand on my shoulder. They will believe the evidence. The evidence does not lie. The bailiff called us back. The courtroom was packed. My mother sat at the defense table, spine straight, chin lifted. Even now, she performed composure. In the matter of the United States versus Linda Mitchell Ashford, on the charge of wire fraud, how does the jury find? Guilty. On the charge of mail fraud? Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder? Guilty. On the charge of child abandonment? Guilty. Each word landed like a hammer. I gripped my father's hand until my knuckles turned white. When the final verdict was read, my mother's mask cracked, not into remorse, into rage. She turned toward me, eyes blazing. This is not over. You will never be free of me. Never. I met her eyes one last time, said nothing. There was nothing left to say. As guards led her away, she stumbled, a crack in the perfect facade. For one moment she looked old, fragile, human. Something stirred in my chest. Not sympathy, recognition. This was the woman who gave me life, who shaped my earliest memories, who destroyed everything in pursuit of revenge and money. In the end, she had nothing. That was the saddest part of all. Sentencing came 1 week later. My mother appeared in an orange jumpsuit. Designer clothes replaced by prison issue. She looked smaller, diminished. Linda Mitchell Ashford, 15 years federal prison. No possibility of parole for 10 years. Robert Ashford, 12 years federal prison. Reduced for cooperation. Full restitution of stolen funds. Forfeiture of all assets obtained through fraud. Before she was led away, my mother was given the opportunity to speak. She stood, looked at me, at my father. I regret nothing. Everything I did for survival. One day you will understand. The judge's voice was ice. Remove the defendant. The week after sentencing, my father called a meeting at Sky Atlantic headquarters. Marcus was there. Showered, shaved, wearing clothes that fit. I barely recognized him. Marcus helped save my daughter's life, my father said. He spent 10 years waiting for the truth to come out. He deserves more than gratitude. Full reinstatement at Sky Atlantic. Senior advisor for safety compliance. A formal apology clearing his name. Compensation for the years he lost. Back pay, pension restoration, a settlement that would let him live comfortably forever. Marcus stared at the offer letter. I do not know what to say. My father shook his hand. Say yes. And help me make sure no one else ever gets framed the way you did. After the meeting, Marcus found me in the hallway. Thank you for believing me. That first night, I shook my head. You saved me. All I did was listen. Sometimes listening is the bravest thing anyone can do. He handed me the photograph. Me at 6, gap-toothed smile, sitting on a swing. I have carried this for 10 years. I think it is time you had it back. I looked at the photograph. Myself as a child, innocent, unaware of the darkness gathering. I do not remember this day. Your father said it was the happiest day of his life. He had just closed a deal that would make Sky Atlantic profitable. He came home early to celebrate with you, just the two of you, in the backyard for 3 hours. My eyes burned. I wish I could remember. You will. Not the day itself, but the feeling. You will find it again. 1 month after sentencing, I sat at the desk in my new room. My father's house in Colorado, mountains visible through the window. I had a letter to write. Linda, I cannot call you Mom anymore. I am not sure I ever really could. I am writing because I need you to know that I forgive you. Not for your sake, for mine. Carrying hatred is exhausting. It is a weight I refuse to bear. You taught me what love is not. That is something, I suppose. I hope you find peace in prison. I hope you find something real, something true, even if you never found it with me. I will not visit. I will not write again. This letter is my goodbye. I survived you. That is my victory. I signed it simply. Claire. I sealed the envelope. Addressed it to the Federal Women's Prison in Texas. Walked to the mailbox at the end of the long driveway, dropped it in, did not look back. The sun was setting over the mountains, orange and pink and gold. I stood at the mailbox, breathing the clean Colorado air. Behind me, the front door opened, my father's voice. Claire, dinner is ready. I turned toward the house, my house now. My home, coming, Dad. The word felt strange on my tongue. Dad. I had not said it in 8 years, but standing in the fading light, with the letter sent and the past finally behind me, it felt right. It felt like the beginning of something new. I woke to sunlight streaming through curtains. The view from my window showed snow-capped peaks, pine forests, endless sky. For a moment I forgot where I was. Then I remembered. Colorado, home, safe. I had lived here for 6 months. Some mornings I still could not believe it was real. Today was Saturday. Today was special. Today, Claire Elizabeth Mitchell turned 17. 1 year ago, I was invisible in a Connecticut mansion, counting days until I could escape. Now I had a father who made pancakes shaped like airplanes. Now I had a room with a mountain view and a door that locked from the inside. Now I had a life I chose, not one that was assigned to me. I sat on my window seat with my journal in my lap. My therapist suggested writing every morning. 3 things I was grateful for. Today's list. The mountains, Dad's terrible pancakes, being 17 and alive. I closed the journal and headed downstairs. The kitchen smelled like coffee and burnt batter. My father stood at the stove, spatula in hand, flour on his cheek. Happy birthday, Claire Bear. The nickname caught me off guard. I had not heard it since I was 5. Something warm bloomed in my chest. You remember that name? I remember everything. Every bedtime story, every scraped knee, every terrible joke you used to tell. He slid a plate in front of me, a pancake shaped vaguely like the number 17. My artistic skills have not improved. I laughed, a real laugh, the kind that used to feel impossible. After breakfast, he slid a small box across the table. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a pendant. A compass. The needle pointed north. So you always know which way is home. My eyes stung. Dad, I missed 8 birthdays. I cannot get them back, but I can make sure you never feel lost again. I put on the necklace. The compass rested against my heart. The doorbell rang. My father grinned. That will be your other surprise. I opened the door to find Marcus and Denise standing on the porch. Marcus held a cake. Lopsided, clearly homemade. We heard there was a birthday happening. I looked at the 3 of them. My father. The homeless man who saved me. The airline manager who made the call that changed everything. 6 months ago, I had no one. Now I had a family. Not by blood, but by choice. And somehow, that meant even more. We ate cake in the living room. Chocolate, slightly burnt on the edges. Marcus looked different now. Clean-shaven, healthy, wearing a Sky Atlantic jacket. How was the new job? Exhausting. Wonderful. I forgot what it felt like to have purpose. Denise laughed. He is driving the maintenance teams crazy. In the best way. Someone has to make sure things are done right. They shared memories. Marcus talked about the night he found me. You looked like a ghost, sitting in that corner. I almost walked past. Why did you not? Because I saw your eyes. Your father's eyes. And I knew. My father reached over and squeezed my hand. He called me 10 minutes after he found you. First time we had spoken in 3 years. Marcus shrugged. Some things are more important than old grudges. Denise pulled out her phone and showed me a photograph. A young woman, maybe early 20s, standing in front of a university building. Her name is Mia. She was one of the children recovered from the Geneva network. My breath caught. She is okay. She is starting college in the fall. Her parents asked me to thank you. Why me? Because your testimony helped dismantle the network, because you were brave enough to speak. Denise scrolled through more photos. 17 faces, 17 children, some young, some teenagers. All of them found because my case broke the conspiracy open. These are the ones we know about. There are probably more. Families who never reported their children missing. Kids who aged out of the system. She looked at me. You did not just save yourself. You gave them a chance too. After cake, my father led everyone outside. The backyard sloped down toward a creek, surrounded by aspen trees. In the center stood a freshly planted Japanese maple. Small but sturdy. I planted it the week you moved in. A symbol. Of what? New growth, second chances, things that survive the winter. I knelt beside the tree and touched the slender trunk. The leaves were red and gold against the Colorado green. In Japan, they call it momiji. It means baby's hand. I thought of myself at 3 days old, already a pawn in my mother's game. Then I thought of myself now, 17, free, choosing my own path. Will it grow big? My father knelt beside me. If we take care of it, water it, protect it from the cold. Like us? Exactly like us. I looked at Marcus, at Denise, at my father. I have an idea. Every year on my birthday we add something, a stone, a flower, a memory. My father smiled. A tradition. Our tradition. For our family. I thought about the word family. For 16 years, it had meant obligation, manipulation, performance. Now it meant this. 4 people who chose each other, who showed up not because they had to, but because they wanted to. I had spent my whole life trying to earn my mother's love. I never realized that real love does not have to be earned. It is given freely, or it is not love at all. That evening, I sat on the porch swing wrapped in a blanket. My father brought hot chocolate with too much whipped cream. Just like I used to love. How does it feel, being 17, different, like I am finally catching up to myself? What do you mean? For years, I felt like I was watching my life from outside, like nothing was real. I sipped the chocolate. Now I am in it. Actually living. It is terrifying and wonderful. Any regrets? About testifying? No. About the letter? No. About Linda? I paused. The hardest question. I regret that I spent so long hoping she would change. I regret the years I wasted trying to earn something that was never available. And now? Now I understand that some people cannot love. Not because of anything you did. Because of something broken in them. I looked at my father. I spent 16 years asking why she did not love me. Now I know it was never about me at all. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge. I thought about everything that led to this moment. The abandoned airport. The sandwich Marcus gave me. The chairman walking through the door. Every terrible thing that happened brought me here. I would not wish my story on anyone, but I would not trade this ending either. Later that night, I sat at my desk. The compass necklace caught the lamplight. I opened my journal to a fresh page. Today I turned 17. 1 year ago, I was invisible, forgotten, waiting to be thrown away. Now I sit in a house in the mountains, with a father who never stopped looking for me, surrounded by people who chose me. I used to think my story was about betrayal, about a mother who saw me as a means to an end. But that is not the whole story. That is just the beginning. My real story is about the people who refused to let me disappear, the homeless man who shared his sandwich, the airline manager who made the call, the father who searched for 8 years. My real story is about survival, and second chances, and learning that family is not always blood. Sometimes it is the people who show up when blood walks away. I am 17 now. I have the rest of my life ahead of me, and for the first time, I am excited to see what happens next. I closed the journal and looked out the window. The mountains were silver in the moonlight. I thought about the girl I was 1 year ago. Alone in an airport, starving, desperate, certain no one would ever hear my story. But I am still here. And now you know what happened. If you are watching this and you feel invisible in your own family, I see you. If you are wondering whether anyone would notice if you disappeared, I notice you. If you have been told you are difficult, you are a problem, you are too much, you are not. You are exactly enough. I shared my story because silence almost killed me. Because secrets protect the people who hurt us, not the people they hurt. So here is what I am asking. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment. Tell me where you are watching from. Tell me if you have ever felt invisible. Tell me if someone unexpected saved your life. Your story matters, even if no one has told you that before. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories about survivors, about justice, about people who refuse to stay silent, subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, someone is sitting alone in an airport, metaphorically or literally, waiting for someone to notice them. Maybe your comment will be the thing that helps them hold on. I am Claire Mitchell. I was abandoned at 16. I survived a mother who never loved me, and a conspiracy that should have destroyed me. But I am still here. I found my father. I found my family. I found myself. And if I can survive, so can you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And remember, no matter how dark it gets, there is always someone searching for you, even when you do not know it. Until next time, stay strong, stay seen, and never stop fighting for the life you deserve. This story is